She arrived barefoot to the interview, but the Millionaire CEO's shocking choice will haunt you. In the heart of a bustling city, where dreams danced in every dark alley and skyscraper, Sarah walked barefoot into a world of opulence and power. The sleek glass building loomed over her, a fortress of ambition, yet her steps were weightless. Her feet brushed against the cold pavement, a stark contrast to the polished shoes of the other candidates huddled in designer suits. Heads turned, whispers rippled through the crowd. A strange girl, bare toes wiggling against asphalt, made the air feel charged, as if a storm were brewing. What kind of courage pushed her to this bizarre choice? Sarah's heart raced with every step, a raw pulse of anxiety and determination thumping loudly in her chest. This wasn't just an interview, it was a shot at survival. Her mind was a chaotic carousel of hopes and fears. She could almost taste the pancakes her younger brother needed for breakfast, the rent that loomed large, the bills just out of reach. As she stepped into the lobby, the atmosphere thickened. The scent of expensive cologne clashed violently with her natural musk. It was an invasion, an overwhelming cocktail of privilege and expectation. The murmurs intensified, a wicked melody teasing her resolve. Then, one face caught her eye: Richard Blake, the Millionaire CEO who wasn't just known for his ruthless business acumen but also for his unpredictable whims. Rumor said he made decisions in a heartbeat, like flipping a coin, and the consequences were often deadly. She inhaled deeply, the air heavy with the scent of polished wood and something metallic lurking behind the surface, a hint of danger. Was it real, or just her heightened nerves playing tricks? It felt like walking on a tightrope stretched over an abyss. And then, as if the universe was holding its breath, Sarah found herself facing Richard. His piercing gaze seemed to dissect her very soul, and the collective silence of the waiting crowd felt like a noose tightening around her throat. When he finally spoke, the room hummed with tension. "Why are you barefoot?" he asked, his voice smooth yet laced with an edge of challenge. Her heart raced. This was her moment. But what would she say? Would she reveal the truth of her situation or weave a story that danced along the lines of absurdity? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As she stood in front of him, her heart clenching, she noticed something behind Richard, a glinting object on the floor. It was a small, silver key, shining like a beacon of mystery amidst the polished tiles. What did it unlock? And why had it fallen at this crucial moment? Sarah reached out instinctively. Would Richard allow her to take it? Sparks of curiosity lit up the air, and she felt a twist in her gut. The game was just beginning, but would she be ready for the truth that lay ahead? Richard's gaze flickered to the silver key, then back to Sarah. The silence stretched, suffocating, thick with implications. "You see something you want?" he asked, a sly grin tugging at the corners of his mouth. It twisted her gut. Was he mocking her? I thought it looked important. Sarah's voice wavered, her vulnerability exposed. The key shone against the marble floor like a spotlight, drawing her closer, even as fear gripped her heart. Richard moved forward, his presence overwhelming. "Everything in this world is important, Sarah. Some things more than others." He knelt down, his tailored suit brushing against the ground, and picked up the key between his fingers. He held it up in the light, reflecting its gleam into her wide eyes. "You know, keys unlock potential and despair alike. Do you understand that?" She swallowed hard, heart pounding like a drum. Where did it come from?" "Curiosity is a dangerous trait," Richard replied, the smile fading from his lips. But there's something uniquely compelling about yours. Makes you stand out in a crowd. He leaned in closer, almost conspiratorially. Tell me why you're really here, Sarah. What are you willing to sacrifice for this job? Her world teetered on the edge. The stakes were suddenly higher, and the air between them buzzed with an unspoken challenge. Turning that question inward, she felt the weight of her struggles crash over her like a tidal wave. Her brother's future depended on this opportunity, on her willingness to risk everything. I need this job, Mr. Blake. For my brother. I'll do whatever it takes. The words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered. Maybe this was her moment of truth, or perhaps it was a mistake for unveiling her heart to a man known for his merciless nature. He studied her, a flicker of interest lighting his marble blue eyes. Just whatever it takes? Richard asked, tilting his head as if weighing her sincerity against the uncertainty that loomed between them. Yes. The word hung in the air, heavy and charged. Interesting. He dropped the key languidly back on the ground. The truth is, Sarah, life will have you in a vice before you fully understand what you're willing to relinquish. It's not just about what you want, it's about the chaos that choice brings. The murmurs from the crowd, both nearby and distant, felt like the faint echoes of a storm about to break. Some candidates shifted uncomfortably, others shot her incredulous glances, disdain mingling with fascination. What chaos are you claiming? She shot back, feeling an unexpected spark of defiance. Your chaotic world? Or the one I live in every day? Richard's eyes narrowed slightly, intrigued. Was he surprised by her boldness? We'll see, won't we? This is just the beginning. Before she could respond, he turned away, his long strides taking him back toward the crowd. The atmosphere pulsed with electricity, every eye felt glued to her. It was as if she'd been thrown into the deepest end of a pool without a promise of rescue. The gentle echo of his voice cut through the tension as he motioned for her to follow. Today is about first impressions. Make it count. In that moment, Sarah realized this wasn't merely an interview, it was a front-row seat to a game she didn't even understand yet, with stakes far beyond a paycheck. As she followed Richard through the lobby, adrenaline coursed through her veins. What doors might that key unlock? And with every passing second, she felt the tightening pressure of choices looming above her, darker than she had imagined. But what she didn't know was how deep this game ran. With every confident step Richard took, she felt the darkness wash over her. A strange voice whispered, "Will you escape unscathed, or will the chaos consume you whole?" The truth of that question hung in the air like a ticking bomb ready to explode with the next revelation. As they stepped into the bustling conference room, Sarah's pulse raced. The faces before her seemed a blur, judgmental eyes scanning her every move. Richard's presence loomed nearby, an anchor amidst the turbulent sea of hopeful candidates. She inhaled deeply, determined not to display the storm inside. "Mind the threshold, Sarah," Richard whispered, unexpectedly close again. "Crossing it may seal your fate." His voice carried a playful menace, and for a heartbeat, Sarah felt the rising prick of dread. "Let's begin," he called sharply, commanding the room's attention. "Everyone, welcome. Today, you represent your past choices. Each of you has clawed your way here, but only one of you will leave with an opportunity, a key of sorts." His eyes darted toward Sarah for a split second, igniting panic within her. A blaring clock ticked down the seconds, each second a reminder that they were part of something huge and she was in too deep. Richard posed questions to the group, a revolving door of assessments. She listened intently, but her mind drifted back to the silver key. Suddenly, Richard stopped, his gaze laser-focused on her. "Sarah," he said, the room falling into an anticipatory hush. "What's one thing you would never do for this job?" Caught off guard, she felt the heat rise to her cheeks. "I would never betray my values or my brother." "Interesting boundary," Richard remarked, a smirk crossing his lips. "Tell me then, something darker. What would you do?" The collective inhale from the room echoed like a gasp. No one had expected her to answer. Richard was baiting her, yet his challenge struck a chord. "I'd fight tooth and nail," she replied, her voice gaining strength. "But I wouldn't harm anyone in the process." Richard nodded thoughtfully, his expression inscrutable. Charming yet naive. He turned away, continuing his evaluation of the others while she stewed in her thoughts, her heart racing. Minutes stretched into an eternity, each passing candidate leaving her wondering if she could present her true self while maintaining dignity in a world that seemed hungry for sacrifice. The atmosphere brimmed with tension, words exchanged like swords. Then, just as she began to relax, a tenant in the back of the room coughed. The noise broke the concentration, generating soft whispers. Sarah turned, tracking the source, and there she spotted a woman in a tailored navy suit, her features sharpened with intent. An unexpected flicker of recognition sparked in Sarah's mind, the woman's gaze met hers, and in that moment, something unspoken passed between them. The connection sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. Had she seen this woman before? Just then, Richard's voice sliced through the confusion. "Let us step further into the chaos," he announced. "I have a challenge for you all, a chance to prove your worth." He led them outside, where an ominous backdrop of storm clouds gathered overhead. "The first round will test your tenacity." He held up a thick envelope. "This contains tasks ridiculous, yes, but necessary. Complete them, and your journey can continue." The candidates gasped, their expressions a mixture of enthusiasm and fear. But Sarah's thoughts lingered on the woman in navy, lingering like a dark shadow in the periphery. Who was she? What connection did they share? Richard turned to Sarah. "Are you all in?" The challenge crackled with tension in the air, and the storm in the distance rumbled as if mirroring the chaos waiting to unfold. The weight of the moment settled on her shoulders. What was she willing to do? What secrets would she unveil? Could she survive his twisted game without losing herself in the process? A sudden clap of thunder punctuated her indecision. As she looked to the angry sky and felt rain start to fall, she realized that this was no ordinary job interview. It was about to become a battleground, and she wasn't sure if she had the strength to fight. Now she had to decide, would she take the plunge, or walk away from the chaos waiting to engulf her? And as that chilling question loomed over her, the stakes escalated higher than ever. The storm cracked open above, unleashing droplets that seemed to splatter against her resolve. Richard raised the envelope high, drawing the candidate's eyes to the enigmatic contents inside. In that moment, Sarah felt like a deer caught in headlights, frozen in fear yet pulsing with the need to act. "Step forward, one by one," Richard commanded, his tone a distant storm rumbling in the background. "Draw your task. This will determine how far you will go." One candidate, a tall man with a swagger that suggested arrogance, strode forward first. He ripped the envelope open. The content crinkled sharply in his grip, voice booming as he read aloud. "You must convince one of your fellow candidates to give up a personal item that's important to them." Laughter erupted from the group, a raucous echo against the impending thunder. "Easy," he proclaimed, tossing the crumpled paper aside as he scanned the group. As each candidate stepped forward, the tasks grew more absurd. Sing in the rain. Relate an embarrassing story. Propose a ridiculous new office policy. With every read task, Sarah felt her walls tightening. The camaraderie framing the initial excitement quickly dissolved into something darker. Then it was her turn. Heart pounding, she stepped forward, barely shielding her rising panic. Richard's eyes glinted with anticipation, sparking unease within her. She ripped open the envelope, and her breath caught. "You must confront a stranger and ask them an uncomfortably personal question." The air thickened, silence wrapping around her as her cheeks burned with embarrassment. Richard leaned closer, a predator sizing up his prey. "You can choose anyone. Who will it be?" Suddenly, her gaze snapped to the woman in navy suit. She felt an inexplicable urgency. What was this link? What did she know? You. Sarah called, the words tumbling out before she could restrain her impulse. The room turned as all eyes focused on the stranger. Me? The woman raised an eyebrow, but there was a glimmer of something akin to amusement in her expression. The storm crackled with tension. Was it the challenge between Sarah and Richard or something more profound brewing between them? Yes, you. Sarah's voice echoed, gaining strength amid the chaos. What is your greatest regret? Gasps rippled through the crowd, sharp and jagged. Richard's lips curled into a twisted smile, savoring the drama unfolding. The woman hesitated, eyes narrowing, as raindrops splattered onto the cement, quickly mingling with her crisp suit. Regret's an interesting word. A silence draped over them, thick enough to cut. Everyone seemed to lean in, wondering how far each of them would push boundaries, testing limits. The woman inhaled deeply, piercing the moment with her next words. I regret letting fear dictate my choices too often. But, do you mean it? Why do you ask? Sarah felt a swirl of confusion and resolve within her. This wasn't just about the task anymore. Because we all have to make choices, even when fear is loudest. Richard leaned back, looking thoroughly entertained. Deep. Just what I wanted to hear. Yet, there was something darker in his eyes. Was he truly satisfied or merely plotting? The rain came down harder, blinding the surroundings in a curtain of gray. For a brief second, Sarah caught a flicker of understanding in the stranger's eyes, one that mirrored her own struggles. Was this just a game, or was there something deeper being unearthed? As the storm raged on, Sarah realized the stakes were climbing. Would this challenge drive them apart or pull them closer? The unspoken emotions crackled in the air. The personal stakes were higher than anyone could imagine. Richard's voice broke the moment, slicing through the tension. Let us see how far you're willing to go to confront your fears. What lay ahead filled Sarah with uncertainty. This game had just begun, and she could only guess how it would unfold. As she turned back to the storm and the group, a chilling realization anchored within her. She might not just lose herself, but find something she never wanted to confront. What haunting truth would emerge from the storm that raged both outside and within? How far would they go when pushed to their limits? The air was electric, the storm outside becoming a backdrop to the chaos brewing within the group. Sarah's heart raced, each beat drumming against her ribcage like a caged animal desperate for escape. She felt all eyes on her, waiting, anticipating the ensuing drama her question had ignited. Richard, eager as ever, leaned slightly forward, his expression one of hungry curiosity. Regret is a powerful motivator, the woman in the navy suit said slowly, breaking the heaviness. But let me turn the question back to you, Sarah. What about you? What do you regret? Caught off guard, Sarah's mind spun. How had this particular challenge morphed into an introspective threat? I regret playing it safe too often, she managed, her voice trembling with vulnerability. It was a revelation that felt like tearing a bandage off a fresh wound. Richard's laughter boomed, a chilling sound in the storm's chaos. Oh, this is getting juicy. A little introspection never hurt anyone. But don't forget, this is still a game. The crowd buzzed with murmurs, the weight of the revelations swirling like the tempest outside. Sarah could sense a shift. The laughter had turned uneasy, colors of excitement mixing with something darker, a fear of exposure, perhaps? Suddenly, a voice pierced through the rain, quaking the tension. What's the purpose of all of this, anyway? It was a young woman with fiery red hair, her stance bold as she advanced into the center. We're playing games with our deepest fears. What's the end goal here, Richard? A storm of reactions erupted. Some looks conveyed agreement, others showed irritation. Richard met each gaze with a steely stare, his expression a mask of indifference. It's not the goal that matters, it's how you respond to the trials. You see, beneath the surface lies the true nature of humanity. Sarah felt a chill sweep over her. His words were eerie, like a predator dissecting its prey. Is this about finding our limits or pushing us over the edge? She asked, her voice quaking, the fear threatening to consume her. Perhaps both, Richard replied, a sly smirk pulling at the corners of his mouth. Sometimes you have to shatter to rebuild, right? The rain pounded harder, drowning out their thoughts as the group exchanged uneasy glances. Each moment felt like an eternity, and the silence became suffocating. The weight of the air shifted, hinting at the tumult of emotions waiting to erupt. Richard motioned again, compelling another candidate to step forward. This man, with a punch of bravado, ripped open his envelope. You must reveal a secret, he declared loudly, pride radiating from him. An uncomfortable truth. The crowd leaned in, the atmosphere shifting palpably into something more sinister. Secrets were treasures, and they had the power to unravel the tightly woven fabric of their temporary camaraderie. One by one, candidates caved to pressure, bearing truths they never intended to share. Sarah felt different. There was a revelation looming like an unyielding shadow, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. The woman in the navy suit locked eyes with her again, a flicker of understanding sparking between them. "What's your secret, Sarah?" she challenged, breaking the unspoken pact. "Maybe it's not just about fear, maybe it's about the darkness we harbor," Sarah replied, her voice barely a whisper but laden with resonance. In that moment, she triumphed over doubt, pushing through fear like a burning light cutting through gloom. Before she could process the rising empowerment within her, Richard interrupted. "Excellent choice, but remember, some truths can bring salvation, while others can lead to destruction." With that, the storm intensified again, wind howling, sending chills through the group. The tension was becoming unbearable, as if the storm outside fed off the growing angst. What destruction awaits us? She thought, a shudder racing down her spine. Who will be the first to step into the abyss? Richard's voice boomed, hanging in the air with a promise of further chaos. The storm outside had nothing on the squall brewing inside. The group. As they stood on the brink, an emotional battleground, the question echoed in the depths of Sarah's mind: what vile truth would emerge next? And at what cost? The room felt like it was on the edge of exploding. The air was thick with anticipation, the storm outside a fierce orchestral accompaniment to the emotional upheaval within. Each candidate shifted nervously, hearts thrumming loudly enough for Sarah to hear from where she stood. The flickering overhead lights cast jagged shadows that twisted across their faces, amplifying the unease lingering like a heavy fog. Richard's eyes glinted with malicious excitement. His gaze swept across the group, searching, probing for weakness. "Come on, don't be shy," he called out with feigned enthusiasm. "Expose yourselves. This is a unique opportunity for self-discovery, isn't it?" A man with tousled hair finally broke, stepping tentatively into the circle. The others hushed, eyes darting between him and Richard, who wore his predator-esque grin. I was going to propose to my girlfriend tonight," he stammered, regret dripping from his words. "But I haven't been honest with her. I lost my job, and I've been lying about my financial situation. I don't deserve her." Gasps echoed around the room, integrating awe and judgment. The tension snapped suddenly, as Richard's celebratory laughter filled the silence. "See? Honesty is liberating," he exclaimed. "But how many of you are willing to go further?" "What do you mean?" A woman breathed, her voice trembling slightly, fear seeping through her effort to remain steady. "How about a more astonishing revelation?" Richard replied, his voice a low growl, like thunder rolling in the distance. "I want a secret that packs a punch. Who here is brave enough to confess something truly damning?" The air thickened, spurring a collective anxiety. Sarah felt her palms turn clammy, her pulse quickening. A knot formed in her stomach as she considered her own truth, the memory rising unbidden. Then, it happened. The red-haired woman from before stepped forward again, her fierce demeanor ignited by righteous fury. "You can't just play with people's emotions like this. What happens if they take your challenge too far?" Richard waved his hand dismissively, grinning. Don't worry, darling. The abyss can be a fantastic place if you know how to navigate it. Besides, isn't that what we all want? To see how deep the rabbit hole goes? The young woman faltered, the pulse of the room pressing in closer. Richard pivoted to her, a predatory glint in his eye. All it takes is one person to tip the scales of fate. Perhaps it should be you? Gasps rose among the group, tension curling like smoke. Sarah felt her throat dry up as dread sank its claws deeper inside her. This was spiraling, and she wasn't sure what was coming next. Do you want to reveal a truth? Richard pressed, his tone almost mockingly gentle. The young woman shot back, I don't have to play your game. This isn't a stage for your amusement. But her defiance seemed to waver, and Sarah recognized the fear behind her bravado. Maybe you don't have a choice, Richard challenged softly. Maybe it's time for everyone to choose between liberation and destruction. A rising wave of murmurs erupted as the group sensed the path ahead, uncertainty and danger entwined like an invasive vine. Sarah felt her own burdens weighing her down like stones. She knew she had something that could unravel everything, but at what cost? Will she speak? A voice in the back whispered. What about all of us? What if one secret sets off a chain reaction? The storm was no longer the only chaos outside, the real storm was brewing within them. Richard's dark eyes sparkled as if he reveled in the players coming undone. Secrets can haunt or set you free, he intoned. Choose wisely. With the room poised to fracture and risks hanging over them like the storm outside, Sarah felt the moment stretch and ripple, uncertainty thickening like fog around her. She was standing at the precipice. But just how far would she be willing to go to face her own demons? And then, the lights flickered once more, plunging the room into momentary darkness, amplifying the growing tension. Would the next revelation swing the door wide open to their undoing? The darkness enveloped the room, swallowing gasps and whispers. Time stretched, and Sarah's heart raced, pounding against her ribs like a caged animal. Panic rushed through her veins. What if this was the moment? What if Richard's twisted game forced her to confront the secret she had kept buried? The lights flickered back to a harsh fluorescent glow, and Sarah found herself caught in the widening eyes of her fellow candidates. Richard's piercing gaze zeroed in on her with a predatory delight that made her skin crawl. You see, he said, his voice smooth like velvet, darkness reveals the truth. Take a breath, everyone. Let the weight of your secret settle. One by one, people looked away, unwilling to meet his gaze, their shame hanging in the air like a thick smoke. Come now, Richard coaxed, still smiling, don't fall back into silence. You might as well free yourselves. We all know the clock is ticking, and your truths are waiting to be unleashed. The man with tousled hair shifted uncomfortably, marginally comforted by the possibility that he wasn't alone. I can try again, he stuttered, though his earlier courage was just a mere whisper now. I once stole money to pay my rent. That's how desperate I was. Now we're getting somewhere, Richard laughed, a sound that felt like daggers. Confession, my dear friends, is just the beginning. What else? What deeper horrors lie beneath that shiny surface? Another woman spoke up, her voice cracking. This is too much. What if someone goes too far? What if we can't take it back? Ah, the fear of consequence, Richard mused, tilting his head like a curious animal. But maybe, just maybe, some secrets are worth the chaos they incite? Let us see how deep this rabbit hole really is. Sarah felt the air thicken like molasses as she slowly approached the center, her legs feeling heavier with each step. The thoughts swirled in her mind, what could one secret do? What would it cost everyone if she spoke? Are you ready to dive in, my dear? Richard teased, an impish grin spreading across his face. Or shall I push you? Stop, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. I can't or one tea. Richard challenged, leaning closer. The glint in his eyes felt like fire licking at her resolve, igniting a desperate spark. In that moment, adrenaline burst through her like a lightning strike, urging her forward. She swallowed hard, her pulse racing. "I've been hiding something my entire life," Sarah forced out, feeling as though she was standing on the edge of a great abyss, preparing to leap. "A truth that could ruin everything for myself and for others." Richard's smile widened, and the room fell into a breathless silence. Sarah's heart thudded painfully in her chest. She held the group's gaze, aware of their uncertainty, their unease. "And what if it's a truth that is more than you bargained for?" he goaded. "Would you still share it?" She hesitated, every heartbeat echoing the gravity of the moment. I have something to confess," she started again, her voice stronger. Just then, the lights flickered again, and a loud crack of thunder erupted outside, making everyone jump. A flash illuminated the room for a brief heartbeat, and in that instant, Sarah's eyes darted to the others, each face tense with trepidation. "Are you truly prepared for what lies ahead?" Richard's voice was a calm whisper, drenched in malice. "Because once this is unleashed, there's no going back." The storm outside raged louder, wind howling through the cracks, drowning everyone in the uncertainty of her next words. Would her revelation shatter the fragile tension? "Tell us," Richard urged, almost purring. "What are you willing to sacrifice? A truth, a life, your sanity?" The air felt electric, and Sarah could feel the collective gaze weighing on her, 1,000 expectations humming in the storm of emotion. But what awaited on the other side of her confession? She inhaled deep, on the brink, ready to finally tip the scales, but what lay behind her velvet curtain of secrecy, and how many would be crushed beneath it? Could this really set her free? Or was she stepping into a trap? And just as she opened her mouth to speak, a loud crash of thunder shook the very walls around them, echoing her turmoil. Would the storm outside echo the tempest within her, far beyond anything Richard could have anticipated? The crack of thunder sent a shiver through Sarah's spine. The weight of every soul in the room pressed down on her, their collective anxiety blending with the storm's fury outside. Richard's piercing gaze never wavered, his expression one of dark glee, as if he could already taste the chaos about to unfold. "Go on, Sarah," Richard coaxed, the smoothness of his voice contrasting with the turmoil trying to escape her lips. "What's stopping you?" She stared into the eyes of her fellow candidates, despair mingling with a spark of defiance. They waited, breaths held, as if the world had stopped just to hear her confession. What horrors had she buried so deep? She couldn't let them down. She couldn't disappoint herself anymore. She began, voice trembling yet forceful. "I kept my brother's death a secret. I was there. I didn't save him." The room felt like it had plunged into darkness again, suffocating whispers swirling around like the storm outside. Gasps of disbelief blared through, and even Richard faltered, surprisingly intrigued. "Tell us more," he urged, leaning closer, his curiosity ignited like a flame to dry kindling. Tears prickled at the corners of Sarah's eyes. "I thought I was helping him. He was addicted. I thought I could fix it." Each word was a heavy stone cast into the once still waters of her heart, creating ripples of sorrow. "But when he needed me most, I froze. He died in front of me and I did nothing." A sharp intake of breath from someone in the back echoed against the walls, and she glanced towards the noise, catching a glimpse of a man with wide, horrified eyes, as if he recognized her pain all too well. "And did you think you could escape the guilt?" Richard's voice sliced through the silence, his tone sharp as glass. "You've carried that burden alone, hidden in the shadows of your mind." "Yes," she shouted, the emotions crashing over her like a tidal wave. "I burned his memory, left it in the ashes of my sorrow. I thought I could bury it, but it still haunts me. It's a ghost that won't let go." The tension in the room heightened, electricity charged the air. The candidates exchanged fearful glances, the storm outside screaming in acknowledgement. But Sarah didn't care anymore. Something within her cracked open, and with it came the flood of her deepest fears. "Tell them what really happened," Richard shouted, his excitement palpable. "What else did you hide?" Sarah felt a mix of dread and exhilaration. What if she didn't stop here? What additional dark corners of her soul could shed light on this chaotic dance of guilt? And after she hesitated, breathing hard. "After he died, I stole money from the family to cover up my secret. I was so ashamed. It clawed at me until it made me sick." The atmosphere in the room shifted palpably. Shock reverberated in sculptures of disbelief on faces once so rigid. A whisper caught fire, sparking murmurs that ricocheted against the walls. Richard grinned, an unsettling expression, wild and unpredictable, echoing the raging storm outside. Now this is where the true game begins. A chaotic blend of emotions surged in Sarah's gut. Relief? Terror? She felt unmoored, the foundation beneath her shifting under the weight of her confession. "What did I just do?" she whispered, panic washing over her anew. "Let us see how others respond," Richard purred, his eyes alight with malice as he turned to the others. "What will your truths reveal now that the stakes have risen?" Just then, an enormous crash of thunder rattled the windows, a harbinger of the tempest both inside and outside. Would the confessions come pouring out like rain? Would they drown her in the torrent of their shared secrets? "Who will be next?" Richard asked, relishing the aftermath. But amid the chaos, something caught Sarah's breathing, something negative, a faint glimmer of impending horror. Could her truth unleash bullets from her past that would turn everyone against her? Fingers trembling, Sarah's heart raced yet again, remembering the darkness she had just clawed out of. As Richard's eyes sparkled with mischief, she realized she had only just opened the floodgates. Could unveiling her wretched memories change the game completely, or would it lead her to the inevitable destruction of what lay beyond the storm? The air practically crackled with tension as the murmurs swirled around the candidates, each one wrestling with their own demons while Richard turned predator-like toward the rest of the group. Sarah's heart raced, pounding loud enough she feared everyone could hear it. She was exposed, laid bare beneath the unforgiving light of truth, and now the others were next. A woman in the front row, her eyes glassy and wide, stood up abruptly. I can't do this. I'm not like you." Her voice shook, the admission like glass shattering in the silence. "Good," Richard mused, leaning forward, his crooked smile sending chills down Sarah's spine. "Let us hear what's so terrible that you would run from it. Just, let me go." The woman's voice cracked, and for a moment, it felt like the storm outside had become an extension of her anguish. She felt it, the pulse of pain that suffocated the room, drowning out all other thoughts. Sarah wanted to reach out, to save her from the grasping hands of Richard's game. But who would save her? "Remember this, everyone," Richard said, his voice wrapping around the room like a fog. "Each of you carries a secret. This is about illuminating the dark. Who will join Sarah in her confession?" As if summoned, a man at the back started to rise slowly. His face twisted in a way that made Sarah's stomach drop. "I'm not afraid." His voice boomed, steadiness underscoring the raw bravado. "I didn't kill my wife, but everyone thinks I did. It was an accident. I was there, I couldn't save her." Silence fell like a heavy blanket. Even the storm seemed to retreat, waiting for the chaos that was sure to follow. Sarah's breath hitched, the echoes of her own choices were magnified as she saw familiarity in his brokenness. They were said to be strangers in this ordeal, yet they shared the hideous weight of guilt. "And yet you are alive, aren't you?" Richard sidestepped steadily, eyes glinting with intrigue. "There's a freedom that comes with the truth. Or is it simply a burden? Let us explore that further. Stop. Please." A male voice trembled from the corner as an older man rose unsteadily. "You think this is a game, Richard? These are real lives. I regret everything. I ruined my family to chase my dreams. He paused, falling deep into thought, fear battling coherence. And now, they are broken, all because of me. Gasps echoed through the room as if every candidate held a string to their own tragedy, ready to pull the weight further into the light. Richard leaned back, savoring the drama. He thrived on the chaos, the unraveling of souls. This is glorious, he said, almost in a whisper. A circus of confession. Step right up. Who's next to bear their sins? Sarah felt the pressure building, a claustrophobic pressure edged with dawn-like anticipation. The adrenaline coursed through her veins, the urge to speak bubbling again. Would sharing her truth fortify her, or would it twist deeper into despair? But before she could gather herself to speak again, the storm outside grew fierce, puncturing the silence with a deafening crack that echoed throughout, as if nature itself lamented their unveiled sorrow. Sarah's voice faltered. The weight of what she was about to say loomed larger than before. There's more, Richard. There's always more. Richard's eyes ignited at her words, the thrill of a new turn in the tale igniting something dark in him. Let us hear it then, Sarah. The game's just begun, and I can't wait to see what you're hiding. As anticipation crackled, Sarah felt the hollowness within pulse with life. The truth had claws, and she was ready to let it out. Heart racing like it might burst, she inhaled deeply, preparing to reveal an even darker chapter waiting to be told. What awaited her at the other end of the confession? And what would it awaken in Richard and the others? Then she recalled the man in the back, a flicker of recognition, a thought grasped but not yet understood, and dread crept into her veins like ice. Will this confession bring closure, or will it turn us all into monsters? She whispered, anticipating the storm's true intent. The thunder rumbled above, shaking the very foundation of the sleek glass building. The storm outside mirrored the chaos within Sarah. With Richard's piercing gaze awaiting her next move, she felt cornered, stripped bare. No more hiding, she thought. It was time to unleash the weight of her truth once and for all. I've always been afraid of facing the darkness, she stated slowly, feeling the room's weight shift as her voice broke through the tension. Not just with my brother, but all the moments I chose silence over honesty. The guilt isn't just about hiding something, it's allowing fear to govern my life. Each word felt like shrapnel piercing the air, creating a deadly cocktail of emotions in the room. She saw the glimmers of understanding in the faces around her, a spark igniting in those who recognized their own chains. Richard leaned in closer, his smile now sharp with keen interest. Are you suggesting fear itself is a prison? He asked, a twisted delight coloring his tone. Yes. Sarah shouted, feeling the roar of a long-buried fury bubbling up. I've kept my dreams trapped like a prisoner while life passed by. That fear, it's a monster I've kept fed by choices and regrets. I've merely existed instead of living. Gasps rippled through the audience. The storm roared in agreement, an inflection of empowerment echoing through the air. Sarah could feel it suddenly, life surged through her veins. Then break the chains, Sarah. Richard's voice danced with mania, as though her declaration was fuel for an impending firestorm. What are you afraid will happen if you let go? Who would you become? I'd become someone real. She shot back, defiance in every syllable. Someone who loves fiercely, who pours every bit of themselves into life, a chance for both courage and vulnerability. The confession electrified the air, igniting sharp exchanges among the candidates. Some nodded, others bristled. It felt like a long-suppressed truth was now unleashed like a tidal wave. Powerful, Richard murmured, a look of admiration softening his icy facade for just a moment. Yet, it was fleeting. But also terrifying. Once you embrace that power, there's no turning back. She glanced around, feeling camaraderie in the silence, a flicker of unity. The looming storm outside flashed ominously, and for a brief moment, it smoothed over the tension furiously bubbling beneath the surface. Perhaps they were all more connected than they realized. Tell us what happens when you unleash this truth, Richard continued, enthusiasm swirling in his voice, almost beckoning. Encouraged by the support she felt, Sarah went on. I will stop running from my pain and let it teach me. I can't change my past, but I can reshape my present. Richard's eyes sparked darkly, the wheels turning in his mind. But what if that reshaping comes with sacrifices? What if letting go means losing everything you hold dear? The heaviness of his words hung palpable in the air, met by hesitant glances among her fellow candidates. But Sarah felt something deep within, a grounding force urging her forward. If I have to lose something to gain myself back, then so be it. Fear of losing only shackles me further. As Richard processed her words, a series of confessions erupted from the group. One by one, individuals stood forth, their truths unraveling like threads from woven fabric, revealing the scars they'd hidden beneath the surface. I lost my sister to addiction, and I've been running from my blame ever since, a man admitted, voice heavy with unresolved grief. I was too afraid to say goodbye before she passed. Now it feels like a lifetime of what-ifs, another echoed, tears wetting her cheeks. The stories flowed, brightening the darkness that had settled in the room. Each raw confession, each shared burden peeled away layers, creating a blooming landscape from their collective sorrow. With the flood of vulnerability stirring courage within, Sarah turned back to Richard, unfazed by the gleam now flickering in his eyes. And you, Richard? She challenged softly. What dark shadows hide behind the confident mask? Richard chuckled, a sound less sinister and more a recognition of her challenge. Oh, Sarah, I've felt the depths of despair. My own brother too, lost to the unforgiving grip of life. But this? It's not about me. It's a game. A game built on pain and fear, Sarah countered, her breathing heavy, but we can choose to reclaim our stories. This isn't just a game anymore, it's our lives. The tension shifted, reverberating through the air like a last clap of thunder striking a chord. The gathered candidates, stirred and united by shared understanding, started drawing strength from one another, cultivating collective resilience. Richard seemed taken aback. You all think hand in hand you can defeat the shadow? He said, half amused, yet the churning storm inside him reflected uncertainty. If we stand together, we are stronger. Sarah replied, the storm outside aligning with her voice as if nature too echoed her truth. Interesting, he mused, suddenly serious. Then perhaps the real game isn't about the raw confessions but about the choices you all make now. Let us see if the resolve you've found is enough to withstand what's possible. Will you choose to face fear, or will you retreat to safety? His challenge hung in the air, as the storm outside began to dissipate slowly. One by one, the candidates started stepping toward each other, grasping hands, forming a chain, an unspoken agreement to transform their shared pain into a rising symphony of hope. With the crack of lightning finally fading into a soft drizzle, Sarah could almost feel the chains thawing from her soul. As Richard stood watching, his earlier glee tempered by the power of their collective embrace, she smiled. Maybe this is how we redefine ourselves, by letting go of the past and stepping into our potential, united. And as the echoes of their shared truths faded like a summer storm, the glimmer of possibility pulsated through them all, a promise of what lay beyond, waiting to unfold. Together, they would shape a new narrative, one where fear withered before the blazing fire of courage. Sarah's heart danced with hope, and somewhere within her, the silver key shone bright with the limitless possibilities it could unlock. And now, for all of you reading this, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, letting others connect with our journey. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Your voices matter. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us spread the hope.